Well, I didn't know if I was going to make another video in the next day or two, but I've just pulled over for the night. I've been driving since, I don't know what time it is actually, it's probably about 5, 4. It's cloudy. I've been driving since 8:30. Had a bit of rain. And the whole way, the energy has been just, I wouldn't say intense, but full. Like really full, just feeling this kind of like, which is fine. I'm used to it all now, but I remember when I first started going through little shifts, energy shifts, emotional releasing and all that sort of stuff. It's like, man, I remember I had to go have a hot bath one night. I was at the healing centre. There was only one bathtub in the whole place. All the little rooms had showers and stuff, but there was one bathtub. I don't even know why it was there, but one bathtub in this sort of little outhouse place. And I was just going through this hell shift. It was awful. It was like worms under your skin. It was freaking electricity. It was just the energy that was, you know, like it was just bad. It was really bad. Probably the worst physical reaction to an emotional shift. But at the beginning like that, that's pretty normal because everybody's so clogged up. You got to jam up there with the bloody plumbing device and unclog the pipes. But I remember I went to the bathhouse and the door was locked and it was like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And I'm like, who the hell could possibly be in there? And it was my friend Jan. And she was like going through exactly the same shift, exactly the same. She said, oh, I got worms under my skin. I was talking to her through the door. And I'm basically hopping from one foot to the other foot outside, you know, like waiting. And I said to her, like, how long are you being there? And she goes, I don't know. And she was in there for like 45 minutes more. I had to like it was so bad, man. Eventually I got in and I just soaked in this hot, red hot, scalding hot tub. I was like, whoa. It didn't do a lot of good, but sometimes you can't do anything about it. You just got to relax, breathe. And it helps when you're breathing if you consciously breathe, if you focus on your breathing, like focus on the in-breath through your nose. Try to visualize, even if you're a creatively minded person, try to visualize the air going into your nose, like imagine the air is like crystal lovely air, and then out through your mouth, or top of your head I always say, but through your mouth obviously is where the spent oxygen comes out. But control it, right? Control it. Just regulate your breathing. Learn to don't be like huffing and puffing and whatever. Just sort of regulate your breathing, and you're training yourself to breathe properly as well. All right, so most people, here's a little tip on breathing. Most people, when they do conscious breathing or whatever, only breathe from this top part of your lungs. Right now, I'm not wanting anyone to think, or I don't want you to think that I'm advocating for breath working, spiritual awakening, because I'm not. I'm just advocating for something that I found to be helpful, but I don't really want to call it a name. I don't want to call it breath work, because I don't want anyone to think that, oh, this is what we have to do, you know, because my way is my way, and what works for me may not work for you. So I'd rather not categorize something and put it out there as if I'm authorizing it or giving it some sort of station. But in general terms, you have to breathe anyway. So why not learn to breathe properly? But most people only breathe from the top 1/3 or whatever of their lungs. When you breathe consciously, force your diaphragm out down here, push it out. Like when opera singers sing, they're taught to breathe, and they push with their stomach, with their diaphragm out, and it forces the lungs to open and draws more air all the way into the lungs. And you'll find that after a little while of practicing that, even just a minute, not even, but after a little while of practicing, you'll start to feel a much greater sense of calm. Right? Partly because you're getting enough oxygen to do what needs to be done throughout your system, and partly because your mind can only focus on one conundrum at a time. You can't think about how weird it is going through an energetic shift if you're thinking about conscious breathing, right? You can't do it, it's impossible. The mind has one point of focus and it tries to place it into the past or the future all the time. But through mind training, we learn to keep it here and now. This is the only moment there is. This is the only place there is. I'm here, I'm now, as above, so below. In eternity, so on earth. And despite not being the body, not being the identity of the body anyway, but having a body as avatar for this journey, it is subject to the dictates of time and space. So it is nice to be able to learn to breathe properly. If you go to our Zoom meetings, we've done a couple recently where when I'm talking about breathing, I'm trying to get the participants in the room to, on the screen, to breathe out of the top of their head. If you were to imagine a dolphin with a little blowhole there, you know. So with your eyes closed, you breathe in and think up. Think up. Think about the top of your head. Imagine it, feel it, visualize it. Okay, and you'll begin to feel, after 3 or 4 breaths, you should begin to feel like a little energetic stream coming out of the top of your head. It's going to feel quite bizarre at the first time you experience it. A little stream of energy. This is your natural chi, if you're of that persuasion. You can learn to work with it. I've done other videos of learning to work with it. However, my rule of thumb with everything is, with all phenomena and glitches and things on the physical level, let them come and go. Let them just come and pass, and don't try to turn them into something. If it does become something you learn how to work with, cool, let that happen. If you have to figure it out and work it out and go through a whole thing to be part of understanding it, then don't. You know, just, it'll come to you if it needs to, you know. So, but in the meantime, learning to breathe properly and feeling it, it helps you to become incredibly relaxed in the physical frame as well as the mental frame at the same time. The last thing you want is a peaceful mind with a body feeling completely wrought with aches and pains or whatever. And that's a big part of transformation. You can get that. You can go through stages of physical symptoms with your transformation that can last for years. I had one where I had spasms for about 4 or 5 years. I couldn't do a standing meditation without falling down at least 3 or 4 times during the hour or 2 hours, whatever we used to do them for. Sometimes when they first started, I'd be just walking down the street and it would be like somebody kicked my knees out from behind me, and I'd just be like, oh, and I'd collapse into the street, and people would be like, are you all right? It didn't take me too long to learn how to control it, because I did need to learn how to control that. But through repetition, how I learned to control it was by feeling it coming on. Right? It's an incredibly subtle energy, an incredibly subtle frequency occurring throughout the psyche, the mind, and putting a kind of impression into the physical ether. I don't know how to describe that, but you can feel it. Like in the healing center, we used to talk about it as whoosh, right? Which is like when you still the mind. Whoosh was our one of our catchwords anyway. when you still the mind sufficiently and you can hold it there for a minute or so, you'll feel this sort of being sucked out, right? And I talk about this a lot. I think I talk about this a lot, maybe too much, but you'll feel this kind of getting sucked out. It's just this, or moved. Maybe that's a better word. You'll feel like you're moved, like you're drawn in, or sometimes it feels like you're pushed back. Your body doesn't necessarily move sometimes, but in your mind you get this kind of whoosh, and it's a subtle frequency, a subtle vibration that if you weren't looking for it, if you weren't prompted to look for it by continually falling down and like being forced to examine what was happening, thus forced to learn how to work with your energetic reaction, right, which is exactly what I see it as. Everything's always divinely purposed. There's nothing accident, nothing to the contrary of divine purpose, right? So it must have had divine purpose that I would continually fall down. And it did, because it forced me to examine the conundrum of continually falling down. And I tapped into the subtle energy. I found it, right? I've felt it. And now, I can bring it on at will, and I get a flash of light in my consciousness and become immediately happy, because heaven is happy. It's like looking through a keyhole into another dimension in my mind. It's like absolutely bizarre. No drugs, no artificial anything, just natural meditative expression. And I know if you go online, you can see plenty of stories of Buddhist monks and whatever who've mastered some sorts of special things and powers and experiences through meditation and whatever. But I mean, I don't know where my thing fits in with that, but I know it has the ability to influence others in direct proximity when I do it. And to the point where they also can begin to feel that subtle energy. It's like my light activates their light. And this is what I was talking about the other day, actually, in the Zoom meetings. There seems to be some sort of more specific connection in physical proximity than online, etc., over the phone. I think the particulars of salvation can still be affected perfectly in different ways online, etc. But this one particular thing that I've noticed, and I guess I've kind of worked with it a little bit to try and, like my teacher Ted in the last video, I said my teacher Ted seemed to have a good command of his chi energy, or whatever you want to call it, pranic energy. But I don't get a sense, I don't get a prompt, and I don't get a feeling that I really ought to work with it or need to work with it, because whatever occurs by the grace of the God through me under service to the atonement, it always just happens spontaneously anyway. It's just like I'm the last one to know. I'll meet someone and all of a sudden I'll put my hand on their shoulder or something, and they'll be like, "What the hell? What was that?" You know? I don't know. I'll just say, "G'day, how you going?" And those sorts of things happen to me a lot, all the time. My ex-wife, we can't hug. We're still very good friends, of course. You know, like we're ex because the relationship expired, came to its natural and divine conclusion. And we're both aware of that, but we're still incredibly good friends. And when we hug, we can't hug without tripping each other off. Like spiritually, it's like two jellyfish spasming together, like, and it's kind of funny. It's like this whole divine connection, you know, and it is beautiful. It looks weird from the outside, I bet. But it looks fucking weird from the outside. So, anyway. Yeah, so I guess, like, with regards to going through shifts and whatever, and like this video, I wanted to sort of follow on from the other one, because I think it's nice to have references. They may not be your own personal references or even match up to any of your own personal references, but it's nice to have other personal references from different people. I've listened to many videos from many people that talk about energy healing and whatever, and what they go through and stuff, and it's really always incredible. This is just my thing, you know, and I have, in listening and watching other videos of other people in the healing sort of arts, I have come to a conclusion there are some very, very similar across the board kind of experiences with healing, especially in the hands-on healing sort of sector, if there's a sector yet. I call it a sector like it's an official thing, but the hands-on healing sector, HOH for short, embroider that on your shirt. But there has been many similar accountings of spiritual gifts, and that's every time you have a shift, your awareness of your spiritual sense of self grows. Every time you have a shift, your release from the compulsion to participate in the physical spectrum, it gets smaller, right? And it's pro rata. I think pro rata is the right word, or is it? No, hang on. What is it? Where one thing becomes 3, becomes 10, like a pro something. Jesus talks about it in the Course, the more that awaken, and that's in a global sense, right? So the more people that awaken, the more that awaken. It's like quite, I don't even know what it's quite, but I've kind of had glimpses, I guess, of knowing or experiencing the shifts in my both immediate relationships, friendships, etc., things like that, and also in my community and global relationships, as far as the idea of not being attached or not being concerned or not being drawn in goes, which has subsequently allowed, as I said, my mind to be more attuned and more open to what's actually happening, which is the awakening. This is the Bruce Highway here. They're on campsite for the night. I'm in a little pull-in area. There's caravans and people all around here. After about 8 o'clock, the trucks die down and everything dies down. The highway goes a bit quiet, but I always seem to find myself at this stop. It seems to be conveniently positioned going up and back as far as how many hours each day I manage to drive. So this is probably about just over the halfway mark. Welcome to Australia. There's a few of you have said you want to come to Australia next year when we all go into the desert. And that would be awesome. That would be really cool. I would love that. If people want to come, that would be incredible. The only thing is, and I'm not going to deny the miracle of the bread, you know, of the loaves and the fishes. The only thing is you've got to bring your own water. It is a desert, and Australia is really dry. So if you're coming, there's going to be preparations. We're going to sit in the desert for probably 3 months and play drums. I want to learn to play drums better, teach myself to play better. I can play okay, I can keep a beat. I thought I'm just going to sit there and play drums and let a whole new energy, let a whole new energetic come into play. And it's about, and Annie's coming. Annie's going to be bringing her guitar. She's got a rooftop tent kind of set up, or she will have. And who knows how many there'll be. Quite a few people have said they want to come. Tyna might even be here. Actually, I think she will be here. I think that's what we're planning to bring her over about that time. Take her straight down into the desert. take that city girl into the middle of nowhere and surrounded with dingoes and black snakes. And every time I talk to her, nearly every time I talk to her about Australia, it's got to do with some kind of poisonous creature that we have here. But it's funny. Anyway, that's about it. I just wanted to sort of keep track with this shift, and I'm laughing. Poor old Carrie. Anyone who's in our Zooms knows Carrie. Carrie's absolutely, she's going through a massive shift at the moment. It's one of those early stage ugly ones that feels like a roll of barbed wire in your stomach. That's probably a little overstated, but and she sent me a message today because she heard I'm going through this shift, and she said, "Oh, I hope you're doing okay going through your shift." And it's like, well, it's at the stage now for me in this where I love going through a shift. It's wicked. It's just the best thing ever. It's just like you gotta take it on stock what it is, but at the same time, it's like finding buried treasure. It's just like it's a reward. It's this huge. I'm so grateful, like everyone that plays their part. It's so good. And I know what's on the other side of it. I know that on the other side of this, there is more clarity, more God, more self-love, more charity, more giving, more receiving, like everything like that. It's just God only gives, God only gives, ever extending. One of the things that I came away with from my initial enlightenment in 1997 was the sense of the never-ending expression and extension of the creation of God. It was just like, holy shit, it never ends, like it just... And I remember, I've spoken about this a few times actually, the feeling, and the funny thing is you guys all know this because it's within you as well, but I just feel compelled, I'm just going to say something. The feeling is like having a million orgasms at once, and then they just continue to increase in intensity exponentially. That might have been what the word I was looking for before. Exponentially out of control. And the only reference, which I think is hilarious, the only reference that I can find in A Course in Miracles for it is where Jesus says, "Oh no, it's gone." Oh no, that would have been that was the perfect match, and it just exited my head. Sorry, Jesus, obviously the wrong one. Oh, that happens sometimes. Like the gifts of God are endless. The gifts of God are endless. And in this world, our ability to perceive them is limited to, unfortunately, our senses and the, if you want to call it a sixth sense, I'm on board with that, but our higher sense as well is limited to our five senses, bodily senses, the psychology of our ability to make any sense of this at all, and the paranormal leading into non-physical experience, like this is the most mind-blowing thing. A Course in Miracles is just, there's nothing else in life that, once you really understand what it's offering, there's nothing else in life you want to do. There's nothing else in life you should do, unless you're crazy, and you're probably fucking crazy. Takes one to know one. But forgiveness literally is the key to happiness. Like, I'm so happy today. I'm just going through this incredible shift. I'm on the road. I'm not located to any particular thing. The shift is one that I thought in its passing I would feel some heartache about, actually, because I've always enjoyed art so much in all my whole life, and I probably still will paint, but I won't work in the art industry or business again for any reason. I don't think. It doesn't feel like I will. But I'll definitely return to painting for my own pleasure, perhaps. Or maybe I won't. Maybe playing in the drums in the desert with Annie on guitar and whoever else turns up, maybe that'll do it for me. So, I'm fully expecting to have an experience of meeting up with the blue people out in the desert, which actually I haven't said to Annie is my primary reason for going. It's funny. Originally, I was going to go alone for that purpose, and because I've been getting a prompt, right? So, but I was going to go alone for that purpose, and I just happened to mention it, and then like everyone else says, "That's such a great idea." I didn't mention the blue people. I just mentioned, playing drums and sitting out there for 3 months, wait for them, and they'll be already there anyway. And then all these people want to come, so that's cool. It'll be whatever it is, like I'm not gonna hold anything back. You just got to keep that yes open. You just got to keep that yes flowing and keep that yes to life, the universe, and everything just in your heart, in your mind, with purpose. What is the purpose of my yes? The purpose of my yes is self-healing and self-love. That's what I come into when I say yes. Initially, I come into all my shit, of course, but when I forgive myself of the shit that I find that I've been trying to avoid and I'm in denial of for so long, then something else happens. It starts to get fun. But the initial years, and it is years, we're talking about freaking enlightenment here, right? So the initial years are hell. The initial years are terrible. I hate it. Poor Carrie's going through it at the moment. Tina's going through it. Anna's going through it. Pretty much everyone in the Zoom meeting's going through it. Most people. It's like it really helps if you guys that are watching these videos. I know some of my videos now that are sort of averaging around 400 to 600 views. How much of the video you guys watch, I don't know. If I check the statistics, maybe half the people are watching for a minute. Maybe some people watch all the way to the end. I don't know. Little bush birds. But if you want to join, man, join the Zoom. Like, seriously, join in our Zooms and put yourself on the spot. Like, force yourself to activate yourself. Because it's one of the best ways I know to get activated is to join the Zoom group and do as long as you can stand. Like, it gets intense. It gets really intense. And your ego will give you every excuse not to continue. It'll tell you, this is dumb, I don't get it, whatever, or these people are all crazy. This guy's crazy. Yes. But it's really powerful, right? Zoom meetings are really powerful. It doesn't take more than a couple before you start to get activated, especially if I pick on you. Anywho, love you and thank you for all the love and support and beautiful messages that you've been sending everybody. I try to acknowledge every message, at least put a heart to let you know that I've read your message. But I do forget sometimes to answer the questions people ask. I do intend to and I do mean to, but my mind doesn't work so great sequentially anymore. So if I lose track of who asked what, I can't get it back. It doesn't come back. It's just sort of gone. Anyway, that's about it. I'm trying to keep these videos to about half an hour. From the edge of the Bruce Highway, good evening, good afternoon, and good night. which is, oh no, hang on, no, good afternoon, good evening and good night. Jim Carrey from The Truman Show. If you haven't seen The Truman Show, definitely watch it. It's 100% Course in Miracles. If you have seen it, watch it again. You'll get much more out of it second time around, especially if you're still doing the workbook lessons. Don't forget, do your lesson. Don't forget to read some of your book. Try and do it every day. Read a few pages at least. A whole chapter if you can. There's only 31 chapters, but read 3 or 4 pages. Do your daily lesson. If you do forget to do your daily lesson, as most people do, as I did, get a big black marker pen and write it on your arm, on the inside of your arm every day. And you'll remember, you'll see it and remember. That's the only way I could do it. It's like when I initially started that workbook, mobile phones were new and there wasn't really any such thing as many apps. And there definitely wasn't the Course in Miracles Do Your Lesson Reminder app, which I know there is a couple of those, I think, online now. So anyway, it's all good news. I love you. Peace.